Yo, it's me, it's SEOTT, and welcome to Throwback Thursdays, where I take a look at a 90s movie and give it a review. And this time, we're taking a look at Lost in Space, based on the TV show of the same name. So, this movie gets a lot of hate. I can see that there are some things in this film that are kind of anger-inducing, and there's some things that are actually, decent. What's the story? The story is that the Robinson family are going on a way in the future. Earth is dying, and they need to find a new place that they call Alpha Prime. So they decide to send the entire Robinson family, including our doctor who found us out, his wife, and his 3 children, and the pilot, played by Matt LeBlanc, into space. Now, this evil group of terrorists that exists in a world where there's supposed to be peace send Dr. Smith on the ship to sabotage it with a robot that's supposed to destroy them once they get a half hour into their flight or something like that. But then they decide to leave Dr. Smith on the ship, so he's going to die too. So yes, and Dr. Smith is played wonderfully by Gary Oldman. Eventually they end up crash landing on this planet. They find this one ship in space, and it contains these spiders. Dr. Smith gets bit, and then crash landing on this planet. Or crash, whatever. Where they find... Spoilers. Just saying. So, for one thing, this came out, 1998. Special effects in this are pretty good, except for Blarp. You might be thinking, what the hell is a Blarp? Well, Blarp is this CGI monkey alien creature they decided to put in the film, and it looks horrible. For the most part, the effects are good. There's one little janky kind of effect that's kind of partway decent, partway not. And I'll get to that when I get to spoilers, but it's like, yeah. So, like I said, so they crash land on this planet and they find some kind of disturbance. And Will, the youngest son, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson, danger, says earlier in the film that he was working on a time machine. And he says that what's going on with this planet is one of the side effects of his time machine. But of course, Mr. Dad of the Year, I don't have time for my kids, doesn't believe him. We're shown throughout the film that William Hurt's character cares more about the mission than he does his own family. He even brings his family on the mission with him without asking them first. He said, my whole family's going with me on the trip. No one wants to go on this trip. The only one that doesn't really complain about it is his wife. But she doesn't want to go on this trip. He's forcing his entire family on this trip. He doesn't care. It's all about his job, basically. Well, it's one of those kind of stories about the father only cares about his job, not his kids. It's one of those kind of stories. They're set in space, And then, Will tries to tell him, hey, this is one of the side effects of my time machine. Well, not now, he says. And, even when he says goodbye to his wife before he goes out to, trek on his planet. Goodbye, wife. That's what he says. Goodbye, wife. Goodbye, wife! That's not how you say goodbye to your wife. Goodbye, wife. Not even, goodbye, my wife. Just, goodbye, wife. And then they kiss, and they come to find out that what the little kid said was true. So you should have listened to him. He and Matt LeBlanc what's his name? I don't remember. But they go and they find an older version of Will. And he's working with a hooded version of Dr. Smith. He says that the women were killed by the spiders. They came back and they killed the women. And I don't remember hearing what happened to the other men. But they never came back. And so he was left alone on the planet with Dr. Smith, who, because he was scratched by the space spiders, he started to turn into a creature. Now, this is what I was talking about. The effects on Dr. Smith when he's hooded, they're animatronic. They look great. His face is a little dodgy. Other than that, it's fine. Once he takes off the hood and he's a fully CGI creature, that's when it's like, no, put it back on. No. You know, and I can do the spiders, the evil legion of spiders, and that's his plan. He's like, he points down to his abdomen and he says, this contains, supposedly he has a bunch of spiders, spider eggs, that he's going to unleash on the past. Only problem is, male spiders don't lay eggs. Female spiders do. He's a male spider. Male spiders do not lay eggs. Dumbass. How fucking stupid can you be? And yes, I watched this Tosh Critics review. He does not even point this out. Maybe I'm wrong. But male spiders do not lay eggs. Females, they make the babies. You know, they put up the eggs. I could be wrong. I didn't look it up beforehand. But it just, this contains the future of the spider race or whatever. I'm just like, so they made you to a female. It turned you into a female? I don't think it works that way. Maybe they're asexual. Or whatever you call it. Where they're both, what's that called? I don't know. Because they explain in Jurassic Park about the frogs. Some tree frogs can turn their sex and procreate on their own. I don't know. But, yeah. So, yes. And now we have a different fate because Matt LeBlanc, and for some reason, because when they show up, and this is what's really stupid, they show up and then the future Dr. Smith throws the past Dr. Smith and tries to kill him. Why? This isn't Avengers Endgame. Alright? Forget that time travel bullshit. You will die. But apparently he doesn't die because he's still alive, right? Then you can say, time is going back and forth. Things are going to change because of what happens later. Sure. Things already do change. So I don't understand what was supposed to happen here. Because things have already changed. Because now, they give LeBlanc and Smith, he saves Dr. Smith for some reason. The only reason I can think of is because he was on the show. So they get back to the ship, they try to fly away, the gravity's too much, they get hit by a meteorite, and they die. Or meteor, whatever. Comet, whatever you call it, and they die. So, after a fight with the future Dr. Smith, killing him in the plasma laser thing that surrounds it, Will sends his father back in time, to just before it happens, and then, something I've always been kind of worry about. He says there's only enough power for one time, one trip, one person. It's still open. That's all I always thought. It's a stupid excuse. There's only time. There's only enough power for one person, one trip. But it's still open. What would happen if you jump through? Would you get vaporized? I mean, come on. This would make sense if right after Papa Robinson went through, it closed. And they asked, it closed as he's waving goodbye. Then that would make sense. But no, they had this whole entire conversation for like 2.5 minutes. And then it closes conveniently after they're done talking and saying goodbye. He could have fucking jumped through. They just didn't want to have two whales in the same place. They just didn't want him to jump through, so they came up with this contrived excuse. There's only enough power for one person to make the jump. That fucking thing stayed open for 2.5 fucking minutes after he was thrown in. He could have fucking made it. I'm just saying. And then they use the hyperdrive, and then they blast through the planet's core, right? And they go down through the planet, which I always thought was kind of cool. Instead of trying to go through it, they use the gravity, go through the planet instead of going up, and then they finally locate Alpha Prime, they hope, and they use the... Because what happened at the beginning of this is they used the hyperdrive and they ended up in the future. They found a ship that was actually belonged to one of their fleet, and they were attacked by the spider creatures. So they used it again, and hopefully they can get to Alpha Prime. They have it set for Alpha Prime, right? What's to stop them from going further forward in time? Right? What's to stop it? Right? And even if it doesn't go more forward in time, it'll still be further in time. Who's to say Alpha Prime will still be okay by the time they get there? And as soon as they blast off, the credits happen. They're set up for, you have to see what happens in the sequel. But the sequel was never made because this movie bombed. Now, do I hate this movie? No. Do I think it's horrible? No. Do I think it's great? No. Do I think it's good? Sort of. This movie's alright. It's not going to be nominated for any awards or anything. I think, especially some of the effects are good. Some of the action is good. I think the acting is good. Somewhat. Gary Oldman is great. Matt LeBlanc's okay. Heather Graham. Some of the things with, like, he's hitting on Heather Graham in front of him. Whatever. It's decent. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's enjoyable space schlock. So, what are your thoughts on Lost in Space? I'm going to comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.